So I've been working on something that's really difficult for me. During my whole childhood, all the way to age 19, from 519, I was trained to take the blame for other people, take responsibility for other people's actions. My mother and father were trying to use me as a scapegoat and train me to take responsibility for their actions. Like, for instance, I won a swimming medal, but yet my mother wanted me to take responsibility for her mental illness and say I lied, I'm a thief, and I have attachment disorder, and I'm writing stuff that I'm not writing, all that type of stuff. But we have other examples of times where my mother wanted me to take the blame for things I didn't do. My mother day drank one time, and for 2 weeks she blamed it on me that I was drinking. Now, this was 2 years before I ever even experienced a drink, and you could clearly see from my crying and 2 weeks of crying and crying about my mother blaming me. Not any drinking, not that I'm sorry, not just stop blaming me. Why are you lying about me? Stop blaming me, you evil bitch. Stop blaming me for your shit. But yet my mother and father were trying to train me to admit the things I didn't do so that his wife could just get out of trouble. My father didn't know this was going on, but he was willing to let it happen, even when there was a very clear red flag. Like, before my mother finally fucking admitted that it was her, I had to try to sneak a bluff in there to get her to admit it. So, seeing as I know my mother's lying, and I know she's doing it, now this is another time when she was lying. She used to lie and make up stories about me a lot. I knew she was lying about me. I know she said something awful. I know she did something evil. But my mother was lying about it and trying to twist words and avoid responsibility. So I knew if I pulled out my phone, said I had a recording of her, that she would not let me play it. Now, if she was innocent, if she was telling the truth, she would let me play it and she would say, haha, you got nothing. See, you're a lying little son of mine. But if she's lying, if my mother is full of shit, she will not let the recording play. Now, here's the trick. I don't have any recording. I have nothing. All I know is my mother is lying because I was there. I was there, so I know my mother is lying and trying to make up stories about me again. So to make a red flag to everybody, because we got my DMH worker there, we got my father there, we got my mother fantasizing and spinning stories that I clearly know is complete fantasy. Let's see what she does when I pull out a recording and tell her it's of her of that day. Now, if she is telling the truth, she'll say, play the damn thing and you'll hear I'm right. But if she's lying, she will not let me play it. She'll say she'll smack me, beat me, she'll do everything she can to prevent that recording from being played. So I pull out my phone in front of the DMH worker, my father, my mother, as she's lying, and I say, Mom, you're lying. I have a recording right here of that day. I have it right here, and why don't I play it for us? Why don't I play what you said? Why don't I play exactly what you said that day? Why don't I play exactly what happened, and we see what really happened, and we let everybody just listen to the truth? Why don't we do that, Mom? And then she got panicked. My mother got scared and said, no, 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 don't you dare play the truth. Don't you dare play that recording. I forbid you from playing a recording of the truth. I forbid it. I forbid it. I forbid it. And then my father goes, yeah, Zach, don't play a recording of your mother. Don't play any recordings of the truth. Don't play it. Then my mother starts freaking out. How dare you record me? How dare you record me? How dare you play the truth for this DMH worker? I'm lying here, and you have a recording of the truth, and you're going to play it to make me look like a fool? And you're not allowed to make me like a fool. No, no, no. You're not allowed to play the recording, she says. And now, some of that was paraphrased, but the real phrase she said was, no, no. How dare you play that recording? You're not allowed to play a recording of me. I don't care if I'm lying. I don't care if you think I'm lying. I don't care if that proves that you're telling the truth, Zach. You're not allowed to play that in front of the DMH worker. We forbid you from playing the recording. Now, what my mother and father didn't know is I was bluffing, and they just failed the test. My mother just failed. If that was the truth, if my mother was speaking the truth, she would have had me play it so I look like a lying little kid. If the 13-year-old boy is lying, then Why would he be playing a recording of that? It's a very good way to tell who the fuck is lying in the room. I said I had a recording of that event, of the whole day. You say you're telling the truth. I say I'm telling the truth. Well, why don't we play a recording and let the truth that was recorded play then? Now, what my mother doesn't know is there is no such thing. There is no recording of that day. But I know my mother is lying. So I know she's not going to allow the truth to be played in this meeting. I know there's no fucking way my mother ever let the truth come out. Never, ever, ever would my mother want herself to be recorded and played for somebody else. Not while she's acting like a crazy lunatic, whacking me with a ruler, poisoning me with pills, saying crazy things, doing crazy things. If I record that, she's fucked, and she knows this. So when I bluffed and said I had a recording of my mother, she flipped the fuck out and said, how dare you? Oh, no, you can't play it. No, you're not allowed to play that in front of him. No, you're not allowed to play the truth. But the truth is on this recording. No, I don't care. You're not playing the recording. You're not playing the recording. But Mom, if you're telling the truth, then I'm the liar. Then the recording will show that I'm lying, Mom. If I'm telling the truth, then the recording will show I'm telling the truth. If you're telling the truth, the recording will show that you're telling the truth. So let's just play it and be over with this. And my mother says, no, 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 you're not allowed to play it. You're not allowed to play it. You're not allowed to play the recording. I don't care. I don't care if I'm lying here. I'm not playing the recording. You're not allowed to. I will smash that phone and break it. I will not let you play that recording. She got more and more angry and violent as my father just agrees with her. Yep, see, yeah, you shouldn't be recording your mother. See, yep, 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 see? Even though this is a very clear red flag. I say my mother is lying. She says I'm lying. We don't know who the liar is. And my mother's going to try to override me with my father by just getting my father's vote out of nowhere, who doesn't know a clue of what's going on. Well, one way to tell who the true liar is to pull a recording out and see who doesn't want it played. Whoever doesn't want the truth out there is probably the one lying. If you're running away, if you don't want the truth out there, if you're spending 15 years covering up your mistakes, if you're trafficking around from state to state, if you're avoiding the advice that's coming to you, it's probably the mother who's the fucking liar. And that was a red flag right in front of my father, right there. My mother would not let a recording of the truth play, but guess what? It was a bluff. There was no recording. I never recorded my mother. It was just a bluff. If I'm telling the truth, well, then she'll refuse to let the recording go through. But if I'm lying, she'll say, play the damn thing and we'll all know you're a fucking liar. But I knew my mother wouldn't let me play that before I offered. I had no recording. I bluffed. Now, my mother could have gone, play it, and then I would have been fucked. Then I would have had to say, I don't have one. But thanks to me knowing my mother was lying, it all worked out. My mother wouldn't let the recording go. She started acting violent. She started acting angry in front of the DMH worker and my father. She started getting extremely mad because she was caught in a lie like a child. I'm 13 years old, having to come up with how to be an adult to catch my mother in these lies. Meanwhile, my father continues to buy these fucking lies. I mean, these are such outrageous lies that there's no way my father could buy all of them. Like the one where I bump in the furniture my whole life, right? My mother and father call me into the living room and ask me why I have scabs on my shins. Why am I bumping in the tables? Why do I keep on seem to have these little scratches and scabs all over my, shins and my shoulder, and my wrists keep on banging in the doorknobs? Why is this happening? I tell them it's happened my whole life. It's normal for me. I thought this was just normal stuff. I'm just bumping in the furniture, normal stuff. Your shins just whack in the stuff, you fall down, the normal fall down, bump in the stuff. Now, what I didn't know is most people don't fall down and bump into stuff as much as me. Now, I did know people stub their toes and they bump into stuff, so I thought this was just normal for it to happen all the time. But I was only 14, 15 years old, and my mother went and lied again. She goes, no, 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 bumping in the furniture is called self-harming. He's cutting himself, he's hurting himself, it's self-harming. Then I tell her, Mom, that's crazy, that's dumb talk. That's not. It's just normal for me, and it's going to keep happening. It's just something kid stuff, I guess. I really don't know, but I'm just bumping in the stuff. Then my mother goes, no, 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 you're doing it on purpose to yourself. You're self-harming. This is a mental illness. We need more pills on you. And then my father goes, I'm not quite so sure about this, Patricia. No, 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 it is. And then my mother ends the conversation with, I don't care what you guys say, it's self-harming. And then I don't get the help I need. I never get to go to a neurologist. I continue to bump into things. I've gone through, I think, 15 watches getting caught on doorknobs since then. Yeah, I've had that like either 10 to 15 glass screens on my watches break from getting whacked on the wrist while walking in because my arm extends with a twitch by itself. Just this morning, my shin hit this table right here. This corner of that table, I was just walking by with plenty of room. My left shin hit right there because it extended. I was standing here. There's my cane. And it bumped all the way over. It happens all the time. I walk by. I get a slight spasm when trying to move my leg forward. And it goes out a little bit or goes in a little bit. They're just problems with my nervous system that my mother wanted to hide because she was responsible. She caused an overdose. I woke up like this. And she did damage to my body. She did not want to get caught for her crime, so she trafficked me to Texas, and she continued to make really bad decisions that made everything very confusing for everybody, as well as continued to lie to DMH and my father as much as she could. Just think about when my mother stole $2,000 from my father and went on a spending spree. My mother spent $2,000 on a pocketbook. Did my mother tell my father? Did she work it out? Did she come up to my father and tell him? No. You know what my mother did? She was hoping that my father would not see it on the bill and she would never got caught. She was hoping to get away with it. She was hoping that she could buy a $2,000 pocketbook and get away with it. The same way that when I bought some models to build on my father's credit card, I thought I would get away with it when I was about 10 years old. Yes, I wanted to build some models, and really there wasn't anybody willing to really get me these models, and so I ended up just buying models, and I didn't think my parents would ever figure out that the models came from them. Hey mom, yeah, look at these models I got that I'm going to start building and painting and try to put together, even though I can't keep my hand. I could never put the swords together on the models. There would be like these guys you're supposed to paint, but the swords would have to be glued in, but I couldn't keep my hand still enough, so the swords would never get glued in right. I could never seem to keep still enough to get the sword to glue into the model. Anyways, I got caught when the bill came in. It was like $100 or something. I got punished. I admitted to it. They took away all my models, and I was never allowed to play with a model again or paint or build or do any of that. Now, how about my mother? When my mother bought a $2,000 pocketbook, and she did the same thing. She was hoping my father would never see it on the bill. Then my father sees it on the bill. You know what my father does? Cut up her credit cards. He doesn't want her spending it. But see, my mother had the same problem as a 10-year-old. I'm 31 now. I would never use a motherfucker's credit card. My roommate trusts me with $100 on the table. He has me walk around with his credit cards. 8 years, nothing. Not if anything, I put money in his account. A couple times, I've just given him money, and he goes, "Why do I have more money in my account, Zach?" I said, "Because I stopped by and put it in there. You lent me money a couple weeks ago, and I dropped it off and just kept the receipt." "Oh, you can do that?" "Yeah, you can put money in other people's account too. You didn't know that, Dave?" "Oh no, I didn't." "Yeah, I don't even have to ask you. I just got to have your account number, your information, and I just put money in. I can't take money out. But yes, I can give money to other people's accounts if I owe them." He said, "Oh." And so, yes, my roommate literally has me hold on to his debit and credit cards, and he's never even lost a dollar. You know why? Because I'm an honest, responsible adult. When I was 10 years old, I was a 10-year-old. When I'm an adult, now I'm a responsible adult trying to get health care, trying to get Social Security, and trying to go back to work while helping disabled people, rehabilitating cats that immature people can't take care of. This cat was literally going to be dead in a month if it wasn't for me because of another human being that can't be responsible with animals. Just like my mother couldn't be responsible with an orphan. Drugging and pilling. This cat was couldn't believe what those neighbors did to this cat. It's pretty much close to what my mother was doing to me. This cat is just not healthy. It took $300, lots of treatments, and weeks of work and quarantines to get this cat even to be bug free. And then he was missing half of his fur. He was biting himself. He looked at a lot of pain. He had a lot of crying. It's awful. It took a lot of money and a lot of work getting this cat back up and healthy. But nobody should pay because some human is abusive. That is not. This cat doesn't have to die in the woods or the hallway. By the way, I'll show you Leo. Hi, Leo. Say hi. So he was missing all that fur, all the fur on his tail. He had like 3 different types of bugs living in him, in his skin, everything. His fur up there was all mangled, all bad. He had some eye infection problem. He did not look good at all. But now, all he needs is a good combing again. He has no more worms inside of him or any inside problems either. By the way, if you ever get a cat and you're having trouble getting the worm shots or the, what do they call it, tapeworm injections, because you need a prescription, they do make the tapeworm injections in pill form if you go to Petco. You can get the same ingredients, same drug, but you can get it over the counter in pill form, and you just got to give the right dosage by weight. But if you want the topical or the injections, you got to pay a lot of money with the vet. $72 for the appointment, another $50 for something else, and then you got to pay for the actual injection, which is overpriced as well. So if you only have like $30 to $50 to spend that month, I highly suggest the tablets. They work fantastic. Even though we did give him an injection through the vet ahead of time. We brought him to the vet. I spent like $100 and something getting him all those treatments. And then the tapeworms came back, even though they said that might happen because he was living outside the woods and he was in such bad condition. So then I just got the tablets, which finished it up. And now he's a healthy cat that just needs a quick combing. Just a quick combing. But then people make mistakes. Like my roommate was playing around with sugar and getting sugar on him, and he was in pain again, and I had to fix that. It's not the cat's fault that some human is pouring sugar all over him. It's not the cat's fault that some human isn't feeding him. If you're a human that brings a baby cat into your house and raises him indoors, then it's your responsibility to find him a home and make sure he has food, because that's an indoor cat that only knows indoor life. If you bring them outside like that other asshole tried to do, they die. You cannot raise an indoor cat for 2 years indoors that's afraid of his own shadow and ants and then throw him out to go running from, let me see, there's foxes, coyotes, there's a bear, and there's many tomcats as well as many, many stray cats. Bobcats, not tomcats. But anyways, there's a lot of dangerous animals right up against our building. I see possums trying to come into our hallways as well. So this cat, why did he get thrown out of the house? Because the father and the mother of this cat got in a fight. My next door neighbor, he got into a fight with his girlfriend. The girlfriend threw out his boyfriend, but the boyfriend bought her a cat as a pet. How did I find all this out? Because the vet gave me a backstory, and it took me a year to find the original owner, and I was able to get a lot of information, and then we signed it over to me because the original owner didn't want it anymore because they broke up with their girlfriend. Anyways, so they broke up, and he said, well, if I'm not allowed to stay here, I'm taking the cat with me to punish his girlfriend. So he took the cat, put it in the car, and then up on the road just threw it out in the woods. Didn't bring it home, didn't bring it anywhere, just threw it out in the woods. Took it out of her house and then abandoned it in the woods. And because there was so many fleas and bugs in that house, nobody wanted to deal with it. It was their fault, but I took care of it once again. Same thing with the landlord. People getting stung by a beehive. At winter, I get rid of it. Now nobody else gets stung. I mean, how stupid are people? I mean, goddamn, there's mold on the outside of this building. Let our waterfalls come in. I mean, just people are neglecting their responsibilities left and right. My father's been doing it for 25 fucking years, and that's why I have to suffer for the rest of my life. It could get better, but probably not until my father takes responsibility for his actions, and if he passes away before doing so, I'm pretty sure my injuries will never get treated. So I'll have to just die. Just literally, I'm not just being over dramatic. I mean, literally, I'll be living outdoors in the woods in 0 degrees, needing a wheelchair, barely able to walk, while having seizures on a daily or weekly basis. And you might be saying, well, how about a shelter? Well, if you're having a seizure from cold water or you can't move your legs in the morning after sleeping, the shelter will not let you stay there unless you have documentation on why this is, why your disability is like that. Thanks to my mother and father trying to hide their mistakes for so long, that might not be attainable, so I'm not allowed to stay in the shelter. Now, that is attainable, but without having a car or movement, it requires a lot of tools I don't have. Now, of course, my body is always going to be like this, so I mean, that's easy. I mean, oh, maybe my illness goes away and then they can't see it. That's not a problem. That might be a problem with a sprained ankle. If you can't get help with a sprained ankle, maybe it heals and then nobody sees it. But when you have a permanent neurological disorder that's been getting worse for 25 years, causing seizures and causing daily, everyday problems with movements, that's not going away and that's visible for life. I try to hide it at jobs or stuff like that, but it's impossible to fully hide a disability. And honestly, no matter how many times I make it just out there and I'm honest about it, as long as my father continues to lie to the people trying to help me, it doesn't matter.